Well, we're back with the breakfast and PlusTvAfrica. Many thanks for staying with us. We head straight to the issue of food. Food is very essential for human existence. You can't argue that. Well, Nigerians continue to grapple with the devastating effect of ravaging floods that have affected over 30 states of the Federation. Farmers have disagreed with the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Mohammed Abubakar, over comments that there won't be food scarcity in 2023 in the country. Well, contrary to the minister's assurance and commitment on food availability following all of the plans that has been put together by the government for the dry season and all of the financing plans as well. Some farmers and stakeholders have said that the assurance by the Minister of Agriculture over food availability is not realistic, and that's because of the prevailing situation of the country. And according to them, they say that the food crisis is already in 2022. Now, you have one of the issues been raised by a farmer or by farmers is that there's a lot of fake fertilizer products which is actually available, to farmers to buy. And that's because the regulatory system is not very efficient. And so these farmers get to buy fake products or fake fertilizers on their crops. They say that fertilizers that they have in the market that over 20% are fake, and most of the farmers do not understand that these fertilizers are fake and fail to test them. Secondly, the issue of, food distribution has been raised as another concern that's away from the flooding issue. And they say that harvesting the food, following the need for the various value chain movement from one place to the other seem to be a huge challenge for them. And thirdly, they've also made mention of the issue of marketing. The marketing system in Nigeria, they say, is too bad to support farmers. And so it actually kills production. And so farmers have actually suffered huge loss over time. And then other persons have actually also talked about the flooding. They say that farmlands have been submerged by flood, and the hope of rice millers looks very bleak. As you have rice mill in Plateau State, which has been submerged in the flood. Another, talked about the worst in Kogi State, where a number of rice mills have been submerged in flood, and that people have lost heavily, including their equipment, money, and human capital. We have a guest joining the conversation this morning, Mary Afan, who is the National President, Small Scale Women's Farmers Organization of Nigeria. Mary, it's good to have you join us this morning on The Breakfast.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone.
All right, then. Quickly, what are your thoughts? Do you think that we will experience food scarcity come 2023?
Thank you very much. The issue of food crisis come 2023 should not even be a question for now, because this is a very good confirmed situation across the country. Looking at what has just happened, the flood that have overtaken a lot of farmlands within Nigeria, and this is a clear indication that come 2023, there will be a lot of shortage of food supply to households. And looking at the issue of the reduction in the size of farmland by farmers in 2022 due to high cost of input like fertilizer, seeds, and working implement, it has made farmers to reduce the size of farmland that they have been cultivating, to reducing it to a smaller size. They can be able to get the seed and the fertilizer to apply. And coupled with the issue of insecurity, a lot of farms have been abandoned because my women can no longer move to the far farms because of the fear of either being kidnapped, being raped, or being killed by the bandits. And this have reduced a lot of, farm size. Farmers are now, just cultivating within the vicinity where there are a lot of people. Some have even abandoned crop production and have gone into animal production. We need to make sure that we support smallholder farmers so that they can be able to make sure that they put the food in the household of every communities. But as it is now, looking at what is happening, sincerely speaking, a lot of farmers have lost their investment through floods and also through climate change. And because of that, you are looking at, even now that is the harvesting season where the food are supposed to be cheaper, it's even costlier than what we did in the last previous years because, everybody is scared. The one for us to feed ourselves is not even enough, talk less of carrying it to the market for people to buy. And you know that about 80% of the food you buy in the market are the one that is being produced by smallholder farmers. And for now, harvest is not encouraging at all because of this issue of flood and the insurgency that is ravaging all, farmers across the country. The pathetic situation is this issue of flood. My women across these 36 states, Bayelsa, Benue, Adamawa, Jigawa, and some part of Kogi are presently submerged by water, and they have lost all their investment. Like in Bayelsa, my women have been calling me. Some of them are now in IDP camps not because of insecurity, but because their houses have been submerged by water and they have lost all that belongs to them. Some of them even lost their children because of, the flood. And you can see that this kind of situations, all the farming equipment, the seeds that we have actually made sure that you reserve for next year have been taken over by flood. So these women are now living at the mercies of God. We are actually looking at if the federal government really want to make sure that there is food in the table of household, support should be given to farmers to immediately, as a point of urgency, to go back to dry season farming so that we can supplement what we have lost in this rainy season. Thank you very much.
Very, very interesting point, Madam Afan, you raised there, dry season farming, which has brought us to the next question I was going to ask. Because in making his presentation at the National Assembly, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, he said that by the grace of God, and he is relying on the grace of God. But not just that, he believes that he can guarantee that the measures the government is putting in place will ensure that there will be no food scarcity next year. He says that the Ministry of Agriculture will not allow it to happen. Now, one of the measures he says they put in place happens to be this thing you mentioned just now, which is dry season farming. And he says they're working with the Ministry of Finance to ensure that they secure the financing or the funding to put that in place to be able to finance this dry season farming. Already he says they've gotten money from finance agencies, including the Africa Development Bank, and using that money, they will intensify the dry season farming. So having heard this, is this going to make you change your mind, your prediction that, there'll be food scarcity next year?
Really, I will not say I will change my mind because one thing is to make provision for intervention, and another thing is for this intervention to reach the right beneficiaries. And that is why we have actually been advocating to a federal government. Anytime they are planning, involve the beneficiaries of those planning. If they are planning to have an intervention, they should be talking to us who are the real farmers on ground, who works with the real communities across the country, so that this intervention does not fall into the political farmers that never own a farm or even own a poultry or even own any animal husbandry. That has been the major problem. The effort of the federal government is being sabotaged by the political farmers who collect whatever intervention that is meant for farmers, for their own private use, and they end up selling it in the, open market to those that will buy and go and sell it to us at a very high price. We are still waiting to hear whether the federal government can actually invite us and say, okay, this intervention is targeted to you people, go and produce, and the federal government will uptake this product from you and share it to the citizens that are living in the city that don't own the farm. You know, whatever thing the federal government wants to do, they must make sure that they target the beneficiaries. Because as it is now, nobody have invited us to, you know, see the level of damage that has been done with our organization. It has actually been a talk of the day with other, you know, maybe big farmers who end up producing and export their product outside the country.
All right, so Mary, let's quickly talk more about that, you know, because so that you continue with this. Beyond the flood that has been predicted as a major issue or factor for, you know, food crisis or scarcity come 2023, what are the major challenges? What are the challenges of farmers in Nigeria?
Now, one of our major challenge is, you know, actually what we have been advocating is to be able to sit down on a round table to, you know, to plan with the government so that we can be able to, you know, tell them whatever, you know, intervention we need based on our peculiarities of the environment we come from. The intervention that is needed in the South is different from that of the North and is different from that of the South. And it's also different from that of the East. If we sit down together, we'll be able to strategize how we can actually intervene in those areas based on their peculiarities. And secondly, you know, access to, you know, finance and access to input has been our major problem. And I would be happy to also inform you that through our constant advocacy, we've been able to, you know, engage with the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. In 2020, the Minister of Agriculture actually identified with the smallholder farmers, especially we women, when they were distributing input, you know, to actually caution the effect of COVID-19, our organization was considered across all the 36 states. And we were saying, looking at the strength of the number, we are over 2 million smallholder women farmers cut across the 36 states. It was just like a drop of water in an ocean. But then we said we appreciate because it's a way forward. We are actually saying government should bring intervention to where farming is taking place, not in the cities. The communities, the real producers of food, should be the ones to assess this intervention. But sometimes the intervention don't really reach the grassroots. And that is why we have to come up with a strong voice to speak that we are the farmers. Whatever intervention that is to be given to the farmers, we should be able to assess it, especially women. We have noticed that in the past, when this intervention comes, it is only given to men, but with our constant advocacy, federal government have actually come up with a gender policy in agriculture, which says that all input, whatever intervention in the agri sector, 35% should be given to women and smallholder women farmers. And that is what we have actually been advocating for. And it's what we are still talking to the federal government. Access to finance and access to input will actually go a long way to support whatever we are doing. We are the one feeding the nation. And we should not beg for us to be able to feed the nation. Instead, the government should look for us and beg us to increase production so that we can have food security in our country. Nigeria is a blessed nation with vast land, able, good labor, and the only small push we have will be able to produce and even export our product to the outside country.
Right. Madam Afan, thank you so much. I think you ended on a positive note with the potential the country has. Though some of your colleagues in the sector believe that there's already food scarcity as we speak. It's only about whether it's going to get worse or things will get better. But I think what you've said has given us a fantastic idea of what needs to be done to ensure that the situation is averted. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, then.
Thank you very much.
Well, Mary Afan is National President of the Small Scale Women Farmers Organization of Nigeria.
And that's the size of our conversation this morning. We'll definitely return tomorrow with more interesting, talk. We step on the brakes, and that will be, we call it a wrap this morning on the show. Thank you so much. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at PlusTvAfrica and PlusTvAfrica Lifestyle. My name is Messi Bopo. Thank you for joining us.
And my name is Kofi Bartels. We return tomorrow. Good morning.